Welcome back to Hawkins. This week we're talking about Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 3, Holly Jolly. Arguably the best episode in all of Season 1, but before we give you guys our thoughts on this episode and have a deep dive, laid back discussion, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on Season 1, Episode 3, and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future Return to Hawkins episodes. Also, feel free to join the Patreon community, link down below for extra videos and behind-the-scenes content. Without further ado, let's take a trip to Hawkins. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hawkins. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Season 1, Episode 3, Holly Jolly. Trevor, how the hell are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's one of my favorite episodes of Stranger Things in general. Got so much to say about it. Oh, yeah, I'm ready, baby. Woo!
Oh, I'm pumped. This is one of, if not the best episode in the first season, arguably a top 10 episode in the entire show. Mm-hmm. We have a lot to talk about. And if you guys are new here, welcome. We do a deep dive into every single episode of Stranger Things. All over the place, just deep dive discussion, having a lot of fun, kind of filling the gap as we head towards Season 5, which we don't know when that's coming out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start with our overall thoughts on the episode. How you feeling after rewatching this one?
It's dark. I would say it's the best episode of the first three we got. It's just dark. It opens up with Barb just getting brutally murdered in that terrifying scene. And you have many senses of horror throughout this entire episode. Like, literally, I would say it's one of the scariest episodes of the entire show. And like, I remember watching this for the first time. It was terrifying then. Even now, like, that thing comes to the wall of Joyce, Barb. Then what happens at the very end of this episode? I mean, it all hits in the horror elements very, very well. And so many goodies in between. And then overall, it's a 10 out of 10. Perfect episode. Best episode of the season so far.
Damn good episode of the show. And I think you kind of hit it right there. You hit the nail on the head. This is a very, very dark episode. And I think that, in the first two episodes, we saw moments of like the kids hanging out. It was like very ET, but this is one where it kind of took a turn for the darkness. And we saw this was going to blend in a lot of the horror. And I mean, right out of the gate, we get Barb, who we see get taken at the very end of episode 2. And this one, she is in the upside down and we see her die. And the way that it's just shot, she's trying so desperately to get out. She's trying to yell Nancy's name, but Nancy's too busy making love with Steve the Hair Harrington.
Making love.
Yes. The way they edit that was always really unsettling too. And like, it would be like the wrists of like Steve and Nancy when they're in bed, like holding onto each other. And then it was like Barb grabbing the rail of the pool. Like the way they edited that was always really strange and off-putting.
And Barb's like scream for Nancy was like, it reminded me of the scream from Taken when she yells "Daddy" on the phone, like "Daddy."
Oh yeah,
like, that's what always reminded me of. That's a terrifying scream. And like you said, Nancy's out there doing the dirty with Steve, and then freaking her best friend is gone. And there's so many things. I don't want to jump too far ahead just yet, but like Jonathan Creeper from episode 2 really bites him in the ass this episode. Joyce has officially lost her mind, but also kind of found it again. Then she's believing really hard now. We kind of are too as viewers. So when you think of this episode, like I think of like Joyce holding those lights and those lights shining there. I also think of the song Heroes, which we'll get to hear in a little bit, but those lights shining and like that to me was like, wow, okay, she's not crazy, but also this is kind of freaky because where is Will? We haven't been to the upside down yet. We've seen glimpses of it with Robin, with Barb, but like, what exactly is happening here? Is Will alive? Is he a ghost? Is he an angel? You can be confused almost, and like you are almost confused with Joyce. They do a great job, the Duffer Brothers, of putting you in your character's shoes. Like Joyce is a distressed mom. Is she imagining all this? That's what they hit so well.
She thinks there's a slight sliver inside of her where she's like, I think he's still out there. I think he's alive. And of course, everyone, including Jonathan, is going to think she's a little crazy. We even see that kind of family divide there with the moments where Jonathan's like, Mom, you got to calm down. And then, of course, she starts to discover that she is, in fact, communicating with Will through the lights. But everyone who goes and visits her thinks she's crazy. We see Karen Wheeler pull up with Holly at that one point, and they have that whole scene. And then over the course of that, we see Joyce basically snap at the little girl, Holly. And it's like, Joyce is full on lost it, but she knows that Will's alive. And now she's going to have to convince everyone else that he is, in fact, alive. And I think that the Duffer Brothers do a good job of handling that storyline, which seems to be the main focus. But then you've also got Hopper on the hunt here, too. He's like got a little bit more of a sideline role here, but I really like seeing him play that detective role. He finds out Dr. Brenner is running these weird experiments. He's been accused of some things in the past. And then he's now in Hawkins. And like we talked about the relationship with the police and everyone, like we should have seen from day one that Powell, played by Rob Morgan, like the second in command, essentially, he's kind of a goofball and doesn't really pay attention to the signs as much. Like, because in season 4,
Right.
I don't like the way he runs he's oblivious, and he's oblivious here as well. Because Hopper's like, don't you think it's a little weird that Brenner's here? And he's like, no. It's like, what?
Yeah, I think you're stretching there, Chief. You're kind of like, dude, just like, if you pay attention, this you would have been able to handle all this better. But that's how it goes. Like whenever the second in command's kind of like he's a slapdick. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And like
Hopper is, like you said, he is sidelined this episode, but he's still so good. Like when you get to that end of the episode and he delivers that line, like, oh God, please tell me he's not the kid. You're like, oh, it just hits there because like you can see it hits him home too. And he turns around, and a little like score of Heroes is playing, a little
oh my gosh, dude!
It's
like, yeah,
so good.
No, absolutely. And I should we dive into the ending right now, or just talk about a few more things?
If you have some more things you can talk about,
there's a few more things I want to discuss. So obviously, we're going to get to the stellar ending, which is coming very soon. We'll get to that, but they really show how strange they portray Jonathan in a really strange light here. And there's a moment, a definitive moment in like the Nancy, Steve, Jonathan kind of trio, if you will, where Jonathan has taken pictures of everyone. He went full on stalker mode in episode 2. And there's a moment where he goes in like the light room, like the red room, and he's hanging up pictures. And one of them is like of Nancy, like taking her shirt off. And there's a girl in the lighting room as well. And she sees that. Obviously she goes and tells Steve and everyone. And so Steve and them confront Jonathan, and they end up breaking his camera. And I feel like we're supposed to sort of feel bad for Jonathan, but at the same time, like,
you got where that's going.
Yeah.
I still feel bad for Jonathan. Even when I first watched it, I was like, damn, like he broke his camera, this broke kid, and like it's the only thing he has. But I was also like, I mean, like, dude, if you're taking pictures of me and my friends and me and my girl, like, yeah, I'm gonna want to probably fight you too.
I would have to be. There would have to be a confrontation there. Yeah. Was the breaking of the camera a little extra? It probably was. Yes. But I think the confrontation was still probably necessary. Like the camera it was probably taking a little too far. Even Tommy, the annoying friend, is like, she probably freaked out because you went all psycho on the psycho.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. God, I hate that kid, Tommy.
Yeah, I hate him.
But yeah, Steve, like breaking the, just letting it drop. You're just like, yeah, you play that douchebag so well. You really, really do. But again, you did have it coming. Like, do I think that was right? Probably not. But like, you shouldn't have been doing this in the first place.
Nah, he plays it so well though. Like the Duffer Brothers do a good job of like planting seeds of like hopefulness too, because you've got the moment where Nancy and him have just done the deed, and then like Nancy's trying to like wake him up and be like, I'm leaving, and he's like, ugh, I'm sleepy. But then she shows up to school the next day, and he like still shows up to the locker and is like lovey-dovey, and he's like supportive of her, it seems like, but he also he still has like the douchey tone, you know what I mean?
He walks the line of good guy and douchebag very well, because like there's certain times, and even now I still, the first season, I still certain times I'm like, I hate Steve right now.
No, yeah.
And when he's like that, you know, he does show up to be a good boyfriend, but he is also a douchebag, and Nancy left him for a good reason. And like he said it in season 4, they do great foreshadowing there, like, you gave me the biggest bump on my head, and like that's coming very soon, whether we know it or not. Yeah.
Such just masterful writing by the Duffers and everyone involved, but that's just one tiny part of the story here, because we also get more Mike and the gang in this episode, and they're basically on an adventure to try and find their friend Will. And there's a moment where 11 is like home alone, and when I was watching it, every time I rewatch this episode, I think that like my sound cut out on my TV because it gets so quiet. She's like walking around the Wheeler house exploring things, and I'm like, is my sound bar broken right now with the thing I use to like control the volume? And 11 ends up going and meeting them outside the school, and they go on this adventure through the woods to try and find 315, the time she's supposed to meet him there. I'd say it's evident in this episode that Mike is quickly becoming the least likable of the main kids.
Yeah, so I'm glad you hit on that, because Mike, I always liked him a lot back in the day, but like now he just bothers me, and he continuously does so. Like obviously he's mad and upset about what happens with Will in this episode, but like Dustin and Lucas, who hated 11 before, Mike's the only one who really liked her. They were both like it's not her fault, like she didn't do this, and Mike's the one who snapped on him. And for him being the leader, like you dipped out on your friends like that, and like Lucas and Dustin, like I think everyone can feel that, at least in the group, you know, like Mike's kind of an ass. Like he kind of just bothers me every time he's on screen. I'm like,
no,
shut it.
I'll touch on one more thing before we get to this final scene that's going to bring the whole episode together. But we get the most iconic moment in the show, because you got again, Mike being Mike and the friends, they're on the hunt for Will, but the whole Christmas light scene where Joyce paints the wall, like that's an iconic image. Like early on in the first 3 episodes of Stranger Things, we have iconic images from the show that are still like some of the most recognizable today. Like when she's painting the wall with ABCD and she's having the conversation with Will through the lights. That is just such a cool concept. Something really that I don't think we've seen in like anything else to date, like when this show came out.
Yeah, and how many people decorated their house like this for Christmas time, you know?
Literally, yeah.
Like you said, like they definitely they're so ahead of the curve of storytelling, right? And like she's constantly losing her mind again, and she has paintbrush out, now she's painting on the lights, and they spell like right here, then it spells run. And when it spelled run, oh, I still get chills about it. And like, dude, all the while they're finding Will's body, she's running in the woods by herself. Like, just
isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how far the visual effects have come? Like, it feels a little off when you see the Demogorgon real quick. Like it still looks good, but knowing how big budget Stranger Things have become, it's like, damn, this show has come so far.
I mean, it still looks good to me, but yes, I agree. Like, because season 4 is like bar none,
immaculate.
Like season 1, that's kind of like a tester, and I'm pretty sure when we get to the end of season 1, like they probably could have ended it after season 1 if they really wanted to.
It doesn't feel like that at the end of this episode, because the big moment that happens at the end of Holly Jolly, I get chills thinking about it right now, is the kids are kind of at Will Byers' house and they see a bunch of ambulance and cops drive by. What's going on? They go, it's Will. They take off and then they pull up and we see a body getting pulled out of the water, and Hopper delivers that line. He says, please tell me it's not the kid. And you can see like the cold in the air in his breath. That's just a little detail I love about the scene. The kids are all devastated, and then Heroes starts to play. And when that music starts to hit, chills down my spine, dude.
Oh yeah. That's my favorite rendition of Heroes besides David Bowie's. I believe it's from something Gabriel, right?
Peter Gabriel, yeah.
Peter Gabriel. Okay, yeah. So this rendition is it's unbelievable, and the use of music in Stranger Things is unbelievable, right? But when they pull Will's body out, like even you as weird, you're kind of like, you're kidding me. Like that's how dark we're going. We're killing off one of the main kids now. Like, oh my gosh. And you see in Hopper failed. That's exactly what his face and everything said. Like, I just lost 2 kids in my life. Like someone of a lady he's so low key in love with and his own daughter. So it's happened to him twice now. You can feel it on his face. Mike has that little face he gives, dude. It drives me nuts, but it's fine. Lucas is sitting there crying, and Dustin's really sidelined early on.
He is,
like,
man.
He's really silent, and like no one realized. I think at the time, like he's just gonna be a side character, and then all of a sudden he becomes one of the most lovable. But like Lucas is like sitting there crying, and Mike's just pissed off and angry at Elle. But Lucas is like Mike, like, come on, bro, like what are you doing? He left, and
I guess that shows like they portray like grief because we all kind of handle it differently. Like that's his way, is kind of brushing it off and acting all macho. But the line that hits me the most in this moment is when Luke says like, it's him. It's really him. And like you hear the defeated attitude in his voice. It's like, my God, like they really sold the fact that Will Byers was dead. They really sold it, man.
And it's crazy that these young ass kids can make you feel like this, you know? They're what, 10 to 12 years old during the scene? If that? And
very young.
Lucas is sitting there crying and saying that. You're like, oh my gosh. And then 11 like can't even really communicate with these kids. The one thing that hits me really hard is 2 different scenes. One, when Nancy goes and talks to her mom, who she never really talks about, Barb. But when Mike showed up at home, his wheeler comes up, she's like, Mike, and then he's sitting there, he like puts his arm, like kind of arms up, like real, almost it looked like improv, like she wasn't gonna hug him, and then like he put his arms up to hug her, you know? I felt like one of those like genuine scenes. Like when you're a kid and you're upset, there's no better feeling than the hug from your one of your parents, your mom or your dad. There's no better feeling than that comfort. So God, it hits hard, man. Like it hits so hard, and you're just like, oh. And then Jonathan picks up Joyce in the forest, and they don't even know yet. They don't even know yet. Yeah, don't even know.
You kind of hit on it there. When you're like a kid and you're upset about something, and sometimes you don't have words to express. You just like you cry in front of your parents. I've done it. I just cry like a baby in front of my parents. And then you just talk it out, and like it feels very relieving. And they did a good job of capturing that feeling, especially with the music swelling in the background and the way that it cuts to like Jonathan hugging Joyce in the middle of the road with the headlights. It's a perfect transition. Again, just another one of those iconic shots from Stranger Things.
It's insane how well the shot selection is in every episode. And then in this episode, it's like it just really set like the tone for the season. Like you thought it was dark, we're going even darker, and then it becomes a total mind bend, and we go on this crazy journey after with Hopper, which I cannot wait for.
Oh, dude, Hopper is about to go badass. Like Hopper now, he's pissed after this. He's like, okay, you know what? I'm going full on like detective mode here and I'll get
Yep.
this shit done myself. There's a moment I can't wait to talk about where he kind of infiltrates the lab. You know what I mean? That scene
Oh
is
yeah, that's what I'm
sick,
talking
dude.
about. I can't wait
There's a
for
lot of
Hopper.
a lot of juicy stuff to talk about still.
Oh yeah, and as we always do, the segments, favorite quote, favorite performance, everything. Go for it.
My favorite performance in this entire episode, yet again, probably has to go to Winona Ryder as Joyce Byers. She continues to impress here, and she's yet again more broken than ever before. She goes back to the general store she works at, and she gets more of those Christmas lights, and she's just like, we see her slowly losing it every single week.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, when she like cracks on Karen and Holly, like she's like, you shouldn't be back here. You shouldn't be, like, she's just losing. She doesn't care. She'll do whatever it takes to find her kid, and she portrays that really well.
No, extremely well. Winona Ryder is the Emmy. I don't think she probably didn't get nominated for an Emmy, but she should have. Yeah, it's that's the best you see Joyce. Like the best performance from Winona Ryder. Like she's undeniably fantastic. That scared, worrisome mom, and that's what she feels like. Like every mom in a situation if their kid was lost would probably be acting the way she's acting.
Absolutely, yeah. As far as like favorite character in the episode goes, that's a tougher one for me. I really would have to think on that. I think I was gonna say Nancy, but I can't say Nancy in this episode. I lean like Hopper again, just because he's on the hunt.
I'm thinking Hopper as well.
And there will be more variety as we get further in, of course. We get more, but like right now, it seems like the adults are running this show.
100% they are. And like the kids haven't had too much to do yet. Like we're gonna get some better episodes, like Steve in the finale with the bat and everything like that,
Oh yeah.
But like Hopper's full detective mode, and while he's a little more sidelined this episode, he's still great. He just captures those scenes so well. Like, where was David Harbour all these years? Like,
I don't even know.
This show just shot him and slingshotted him into superstardom because, I mean, he's undeniably perfect in this role. Not like sometimes they have like those characters who like aren't that great. All of a sudden, because of season 4, they're fantastic. It's like nah, he was fantastic from the jump. And like I said, like, oh God, please tell me it's not the kid. Like that's probably one of the Hopper's best lines, and it just hits right in hard.
I think that might be the quote of the episode for me. Like just the way it's delivered. Like it's not one of my favorite lines in the show, but the impact that line has.
It totally describes the entire episode, is what I would say. Fair. Oh God, please tell me it's not the kid. Like that's what kind of lead us to the penultimate episode, dang years, episode 3, and we finally have an answer for the time being.
One quick thing I want to touch on before we do wrap this up is we get a little more insight into Eleven and Papa's relationship. We didn't touch on it, but she has like a flashback with a cat, and we see her and all the trauma she really had to go through. Like there's that scene where she's yelling Papa, and she's getting taken to the side room, and she kills those guards, and then he's like, you're special. You're special, 11. Like we are finding out this dude is a freaking weirdo, and 11 has a lot of trauma.
And 11 is a lot more badass than we thought. That's exactly what we're finding out, because like you get to see her. We've always seen the glimpses of her powers, never once used. Snaps dude's neck.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, this girl's crazy.
Yeah. She's crazy, right? We'll talk about that quote in a few episodes. But overall, again, I love this episode. It flies by on rewatch. I'm enjoying diving into, season 1 as we get along. This is definitely the strongest so far.
Best episode of the show so far. If I had to rank, it would be 3-1-2. I'm
right there with you. 3-1-2 so far through season 1. You have any final thoughts or anything you want to add? Or are you?
No.
I still remember. Dude, when that hits, and then like I don't know what instrument it is, it might be a violin or a cello or something. Yeah, in the background. And we see like Joyce running to the car. Chills every time. Like I rewatch that scene more than the actual episode, I would say.
Episode 4. I don't honestly remember, so I'm excited to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before we hit record on this. 4, 5, and 6. They kind of really run together for me. So that's why I'm excited to dive back into them and really kind of get into all the details about them. I know we get a lot of badass Hopper moments. And I'm just really looking forward to it. We get more drama with the whole Steve and Nancy plot line. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to discuss as we get further into the Return to Hawkins series. But I think that's going to wrap it up for our discussion on Holly Jolly, the 3rd episode of season 1. Make sure to go subscribe to Trevor's channel, Film Geeks, and follow him on all of his social medias. They are linked down below. Make sure to hit the like button. Comment down below your favorite episode, or not favorite episode, favorite moment from this episode down below. I'm sure we all know what it is. It's probably the final few moments, because that's just fantastic Stranger Things content. Stay tuned for more Stranger Things Returns to Hawkins videos coming every single week, as next week we'll have season 1, episode 4. And until next time, see you guys on the other side of the Upside Down.